to close read and analyze what the poem is saying and the meaning behind the poem. So you know our steps here. That you're going to read the poem one time to get the gist, and then you're going to go back and you're going to make question marks on anything that you have confusions on, or exclamation marks on anything that you found interesting. After that is done, you know that we're going to have a conversation to help clear up any of our ideas that we may be confused about. And then we will have a discussion. So, in the middle of your groups, there is your poem. Would you please take that? When you have it, flip it over. And would you go ahead and read to get the gist? Still making question marks and exclamation marks, I want you just to put your pencil down. We're going to put a pause on this. I see several groups are ready to have a conversation.
How do you know they're ready?
Their pencils are on their name tags. Their eyes are on me.
Well, I am so excited
There we go.
to discuss this poem. I'm so excited. It's one of my favorites.
It is a wonderful poem. It is a wonderful poem. All right, so you know the next step.
Yep.
We are going to help each other through conversation, clarify any confusions that we have. If your group understands that first stanza, stop and talk about what is that stanza meaning. What is the meaning behind the stanza?
So, Mr. Rethman,
Yes,
if there's
ma'am.
no question marks, if no one in my group has any question marks next to any lines in that first stanza, that means I understand it, so I should share with my group my understanding of the first stanza.
What is it talking about?
Okay.
What's
does it
the
say?
purpose? Yeah, what is this really truly saying? And when I say, what is it saying, should I read what the stanza
No.
says?
Put it into your own words.
You put it into your own words, absolutely. Put it into your own words. We've already done the reading. Now we have to understand what the poem is really telling us.
What's the author saying?
What is the author saying? Okay. Now, group 3 and group 5, I see that everyone has their pencils down. So you're ready to huddle up and begin your conversation. If you are still working on putting those question marks, please pick your pencils back up and continue.
If we don't understand it, then
Our partner can help us.
someone could respectfully disagree, or they could help you understand it by talking about it or reading
Like
it.
talking you through it, so you can better
Yes,
understand
like
it.
people
so-
can help other people, like in our groups and in our classroom. And plus, we don't get dictionaries out, so we have to figure it out by ourselves. Like,
No,
if
we don't
you,
have. We can't do it by
Well-
ourselves.
well,
we
with our
usually
group.
need help.
but if you can't figure it out the first read, you have to read it again to better understand it. We have to do our own thing. Yeah.
Line 3, my question was, Dear Father Tree, behold our grief. What does grief mean?
I think
Like wanting to stay on the tree.
Hey guys, let's read the sentence to like have some clues about what it is.
Like the other.
Like, dear Father, what does the tree mean when he says you're getting sleepy. Yellow and brown.
Well, it means like,
You know how in the fall, like they fall down the trees? Like maybe they're kind of getting sleepy and they're falling off the trees, kind of.
Whispering all their sports among. I think.
Well, you wanted to add on my thing, but what I'm saying is like when there's, they fall and among them, because they haven't fell yet. When it's like a blizzard, all the leaves would fly up in the air, and it looks like they're like running, but the wind is pushing.
So like yeah. So it might mean like the wind is pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's technically.
so what would paragraph 3 be about?
First stanza.
And Mr. Rethman never gives us any answers. He wants us to do our own thinking, and he always wants us to have evidence behind it.
No, it's not the last time this died. It's just the last time to fall.
It's
the last time to
What's
stay
happening
with
in that
their
first
father.
stanza?
Yeah, because he has to go to New Leaf.
But
the narrator is a nameless narrator. The tree isn't telling the story because it says the great tree to his children said.
Our teacher says we need to turn it into our own words so we can better understand it in a way that our partner can also understand it.
And you shouldn't copy from people or authors or illustrators
Or books.
that say things.
Why not?
You have to.
Well, because then we're not thinking.
Because then we're not thinking. We're just copying off the book.
And also, so like we have to be more specific in what we're saying. Like, our teacher's favorite
Word
is
is
why,
why.
because we sometimes say things that we need to like say things more specifically. He likes to say
Why
Why do I
did that
say
happen?
why?
Yeah,
he likes
like,
us to justify our thinking.
why did
To stay with their father.
you have to stay with the father and they don't want to fall?
But what does grief mean?
Grief probably means like father leader.
Yeah. Like the father's probably the leader of the little baby leaves.
Do you have any proof?
He said, "Dear Father Tree." He
Yeah.
said, "Dear Father Tree."
We heard wonderful conversation.
I heard great conversations. I loved the way that I heard students helping each other figure out unknown words by using their context clues. So they kept reading and rereading a sentence or sentences, and as they were doing that, they were discussing and figuring out what a word meant. And that was wonderful. I loved it.
Allison.
And what we were doing was if someone in our group had a question, then they would ask it, and then everybody else who had the answer to the question would put the thumbs up, and that person could call on them.
Wonderful strategy, because then only one voice was on at a time, correct? All right, so now we are going to break this poem apart. We're going to go stanza by stanza. What did that stanza mean? What was the author's purpose for that particular stanza? Now, remember when we have our conversations, we can add on to someone else's thinking. We can respectfully disagree with evidence. If you are sharing, make sure you stand up. You project your voice so we all can hear. And as listeners, our eyes are on the person who is speaking. So let's look at that first stanza.
We wait until they're done, and then we stand up and respectfully disagree, respectfully agree, or add on.
And instead of just like saying, "I disagree with you," in like
We have to say respectfully.
in a little, kind of a
Nice
attitude.
Yeah. Because
Voice,
the attitude.
it would be much respectful and better. It would be a lot more nicer to say I respectfully disagree than
saying in a
Mean
attitude.
Who would like to start our conversation? Hands down. Aiden, let's have you start. Eyes are on him.
So, the first paragraph is.
Oh, it's not a paragraph.
The first stanza is talking about how the tree is telling the leaves a story about how his other leaves left him.
Anyone want to add on? Respectfully disagree?
I respectfully disagree with your thinking because I think like the author was telling you that, and then he just started his story with the big tree.
Could you clarify your thinking? Could you explain a little more?
Because at the beginning it said, "I'll tell you how the leaves came down," and then it says the big tree to his children saying very sweetly, and then it goes on. And it sounds like it wasn't the big tree. That was. And I respectfully
Colin?
Jaden, I respectfully disagree. And I would like to add on that Aiden's thinking.
He lets us butt in because we are trying to help out our partner do something. Like if they forget something, our teacher told us to just butt in whenever we want to.
Well,
so
not
we
whenever.
not whenever, yeah. And so we can just like help the other person improve on what they're on their thinking.
Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to talk in your group about what note would you create about that first stanza. Okay, what's happening? Okay.
So everybody can, share their thoughts is what Mr. Rethman usually likes us to do. Like, everybody shares their thoughts.